Catherine Wheel have just put out a new album, Happy Days, with cover art by Storm Thurgeson of Pink Floyd fame, and an even heavier edge to the songs. Happy Days has received a lot of critical acclaim that the band deserve. Program director Janis Nixon interviewed lead singer Rob Dickinson the day after the band's performance in Toronto.
When I was going through the bio and some other information on Catherine Wheel, it seemed interesting to me that you guys had actually sent a demo to a booking agent, and from there you guys ended up being signed, and an EP cassette was released.
Well, it wasn't a cassette. It was our first 12-inch independent EP in January '91.
As a result of that, are you responsive to receiving tapes from other artists?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we certainly get given a lot of demos and things when we're on the road, and it's always interesting to listen to other bands. I mean, there's a limit to it. Unfortunately, there's a limit to what we can do with them, but we can obviously pass them on to anybody who might be able to do something with them. But, yeah, it's great listening to what other people are up to.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that something that I find interesting about the sound with Catherine Wheel is that you're able to combine, I guess, angst and complement it through instrumentation, where I find a lot of artists nowadays, and if I could use Matthew Sweet as an example, kind of sugarcoat angst with, I don't know, like pop sounds.
Well, is that not good?
No, that's fabulous. I think that's what makes Catherine Wheel unique and enjoyable, in fact.
Oh, I was actually referring to. I think what Matthew Sweet does is actually pretty good. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not quite sure. I kind of don't like picking apart too much what we do, because if I start doing that too much, we probably won't be able to do it anymore. If I start thinking about it too consciously. I mean, we do. You know, we're lovers of melody and tune, and at the same time, there's a number of different bands trying to get out of us, I think, and you know, one side of us is a delicate, melancholy bunch of people, and another side is quite an aggressive sounding rock band, I think, and somewhere there's a fight between the two kind of ends of the spectrum, and I think that's probably got something to do with how the music ends up. I think even in our loudest songs, there's a delicate moment trying to get out. You know.
Saying yesterday in another interview, that's more or less the romantic side.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's another side trying to get out of us. I mean, there's a great release in aggression and in volume, which the band naturally was drawn to when it started. I think as we move on, though, there's a lot of romance in what we do. I mean, there's a lot of misty-eyed, maybe atmospheres on the record, which we love too. I mean, I find myself, you know, daydreaming a lot and thinking about the past a lot, and I think this record maybe has a theme of childhood and nostalgia to it as well, which I guess is quite a romantic thing.
In fact, that's a good segue into what I want to ask you about next. Yesterday I was at the radio station where you were interviewed, and a caller did ask you about the reference to the dark side. Mm-hmm. And you had implicated that it was a metaphor for the passage of youth.
Right.
How does this really affect you?
I don't know. I think it affects everybody. I think, you know, everybody winds up in adulthood with character traits that are stamped, which have been stamped as a child. You know, and I think we all have memories of what our childhoods were, you know, and they're often kind of rose-tinted, misty. I don't know. It was just, you know, it's that there's an idea that
You see the world.
It's a tortuous journey from childhood to adulthood, and it's just something that I found myself thinking about a lot and naturally writing about for this record.
Right.
And I don't know whether it's something that you start pondering on when you reach your late 20s or something, but that's what I found myself doing.
Well, you'd mentioned that you chose to refer to the dark side as a subtitle for Happy Days, and there's a certain contradiction with that as well. I mean, do you think that growing up is just full of contradictions?
Certainly. I mean, and it's full of confusion, and it's full of, it's a minefield. It really is. I mean, especially these days. I mean, life becomes less and less simple, and it's a difficult. I mean, who is balanced these days? I mean, what is a balanced individual? I mean, I don't think I am.
Are you certain of that?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, as I get older, I know I'm neurotic to a large degree, but it all comes from somewhere, and I think, I don't know, maybe with the turmoil which everybody has, and everybody curbs to, everybody suppresses turmoil of some degree, and I'm just like really interested to see where that all comes from.
Right.
It comes from somewhere.
Right. You have a song called "Eat My Dust," and it appears as though there's going to be a film out in the near future, a short film, and you're mentioning that it doesn't look like it's going to get to much music here in Canada or MTV in the States, specifically because of what the title denotes. But how did you get involved with Stephen Dorff?
We mixed the record in Los Angeles, and Michael Stipe was recording next door, and Stephen was hanging out with Michael, and both Stephen and Michael became fixated with this song "Eat My Dust, You Insensitive."
Yep.
And it became a real talking point, and everyone started to talk about it and start to listen to the song a lot. And we asked Stephen if he wanted to direct a short little movie for it. I mean, I'm reluctant to call it a video because it's nearly 10 minutes long, and it's more like a little kind of movie vignette than a video. So and we did. It was done very quickly, and it was done very spontaneously and off the cuff. And we had River Phoenix's sister Summer Phoenix part in it, and it was something that was done very spontaneously and worked and came out working very well. I mean, Stephen, I think, felt a kind of empathy for the song. It's very much the way he lives his life. He doesn't really care what other people think of him, and he goes about his business in a very headstrong way, which is kind of the sentiment behind the song, and I think the attitude with which we recorded the whole of the record, which we were finally very aware of our strengths and really didn't care if other people didn't understand.
What is the film or short vignette about? What should we expect?
Well, it's really just some images which go with the music. We just wanted to shoot some simple images which kind of complemented the attitude and the atmosphere of the music. So it's a journey from Hollywood out into Death Valley in California, into the desert.
Mm-hmm. You seem to have a really strong affiliation to Boston, specifically with Tanya Donnelly, and then, of course, a band that you cited as having an influence on you, Mission of Burma. Mm-hmm. What's with Boston? I suppose, other than the obvious that I've just mentioned, how did that, I suppose, those strong ties develop?
Well, I mean, it's purely coincidental that Gil's an Englishman from Liverpool, mm-hmm. Who just happened to work with a couple of bands from Boston, Throwing Muses and Belly and the Pixies. It's kind of and through Gil we asked Tanya to sing on one of the songs on the album. So it's kind of all come through Gil. And it's kind of coincidental, and it's quite odd that. I mean, Boston's a very good town for us. I mean, we love playing there, and we have a good following in Boston. So it's odd. I mean, it's hard how things work out.
Right. A number of people are questioning, why did Catherine Wheel do the cover of Husker Du's Don't Want to Know If You Are Lonely?
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to overlook the fact that Catherine Wheel has also covered on the recent EP,
Right.
Scott Walker, as well as Mission of Burma.
Well, those songs were actually recorded 2 or 3 years ago for an EP we did in England. And the EP was a collection of cover versions of maybe more obscure songs, which some people hadn't heard. They're just songs that we like. I mean, I think they all those songs have an element of sadness in them, which attracted me to them. And I wouldn't say that Husker Du or Mission of Burma have been massive influences on us, but we just like those songs, and we wanted to do some reasonably obscure cover versions. It was kind of as simple as that.
When you talk about the element of sadness to the songs which you like, where does that interest or sadness originate from? Is it from like the past, as you were saying, your childhood, or is it also the present?
I don't know. It's just I find it's just within me. It's always pretty close under the surface, and I really don't know where it comes from. It's just there's a kind of melancholy which is just bubbling under the surface of all our songs. I think even the apparently aggressive, loud guitar-driven songs. I think there's a whole different vibe going on under the surface, I think, of a lot of the stuff we do. So I don't know. I really don't know where it comes from.
When you talk about remixes, you've alluded to the fact that Catherine Wheel might actually, in fact, be working with Trent Reznor. Have you ever considered that you might, aside from gaining a fan base who, in essence, is, I suppose, supportive of Nine Inch Nails, but also lose a core element of your fan base?
No, I mean, the thing with the remixing that may happen with Trent Reznor is a long way off, and we haven't even got even close to working out whether that will happen or not. So it's so far in the distance as to, I mean, it may never happen. So it's just something that we're quite interested in maybe pursuing. But I mean, it's a long way down the road. So I mean, as to any effect it might have on people who follow us, it's far too early to say, because it may never happen.
Right. Do you concern yourself with how people perceive Catherine Wheel?
Well, I do. I mean, I try not to, because everything, all the good things that we've ever done have been to please ourselves, and that's. And I think it just follows that the stuff which pleases us pleases a lot of other people as well. So, I mean, that's a happy position to be in, because I mean, if we start worrying too much about pleasing other people, it's a road to ruin, I think. I mean, we do what we feel is best for our music, and hopefully other people will
appreciate that as well.
Will get it and appreciate it, yeah.
For the artwork on Happy Days, you guys have recruited a hired gun, Storm Thorgerson.
Yeah.
In fact, he's done visual artwork for Pink Floyd. Did you hire him to create his own images based on the lyrical and musical content from the album, or did you guys already have a preconceived idea as to what you wanted to be the artwork?
Storm's like, he's not like a hired hand. Mm-hmm. He's an old friend of ours, mm-hmm. And he did the artwork for the previous record, and has become a definite part of our family, I think. He's someone who gets involved very early on when we make records with the lyrical content, and I was giving Storm lyrics while we were still recording, and he gets ideas and themes and starts thinking about visual imagery quite early on in the process. So it's something which is very important for us to surround ourselves with people both musically and visually who we can trust. Right. to represent us and who understand what we're trying to do. So we kind of Storm gets involved very early, and we let him interpret the music how he sees it. It's very good to have people that you trust creatively to do that.
Right. In your opinion, the images of the cribs, are they places of rest, or are they jail cells?
Who knows? That's the question. I mean, are you safe as a child, or are you imprisoned as a child? I don't know. I mean, it could be both. I mean, it makes for a very interesting image, doesn't it?
It does. It does certainly make you think. I don't know that I really remember as a child being in a crib, but looking at it, and oftentimes, even if you're babysitting or looking after someone's child, and you see the crib image, you do have to question that. And I think the imagery that you guys is put forth on the album definitely leads one to question that element.
Yeah, well, that's good. I think we were certainly in a quite provocative mood when we made the record, and the artwork just kind of takes that one step further. I mean, and I think the video we've just made is provocative in its own way as well. I mean, it's something. I think it's part of our new sense of purpose, which we've had since we made this record, and we had during the making of it. That I mean, we have a great opportunity when you make music and the music is going to arrive in people's living rooms to push people's buttons and get people thinking, and it's a great opportunity. I think we realised that for the first time making this record, that music is a great opportunity to provoke people into questioning things, maybe.
Exactly. At this time, you're only on a 2-week promotional tour, and there is some talk that you're going to be coming back to the Toronto area in August. Yes,
well, we're going to be touring extensively through July, August, and September, probably through to Christmas actually. So I'm sure we're going to be back we're certainly going to be back in August, but I'm sure we're going to be back a few times after that.
Right. Hopefully. I do hope that the venue isn't as hot next time around.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Believe me. If it could be cooler, I would have made it cooler.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want it to have been in your position last night. Are you doing any English festivals this summer?
I think we're going to be doing the Reading Festival, in England.
It's interesting, actually, to see the dichotomy between the Glastonbury Festival and the Reading Festival this year. I was looking at the Phoenix Festival, the Reading Festival, and the Glastonbury Festival. Mm-hmm. And the Phoenix and Glastonbury Festival, there seems to be like a serious overlap. But with Reading, there's a definite difference in the music style. But it seems to be much more Americanized this year.
I haven't seen the lineup, so I'm not kind of sure what's going on. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of American bands that are coming over and playing in England, which is cool. So I mean, I don't know how it's split up. But
have you seen the recent issue of Select?
No, I haven't.
It has the breakdown of all the different festivals.
Right.
And it's actually quite interesting. Unfortunately, we can't appreciate that here. But I do know, in fact, that there are going to be a number of people going over. But Rob, how do you feel yesterday at the show, both at the show and at the radio station? Something that was of interest to me, and looking around the room, I noticed that the band and yourself have noticeably set different trends, whether it be fashion, and specifically fashion. Do you see yourself as a trendsetter at all? I saw a lot of Rob Dickinson clones.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not very good at noticing that sort of stuff. Well, it'll be the first time it's happened. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just looked out and saw a sea of faces, which is always a good sight to see from a stage. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel, I mean, in more of a general sense, I feel that we kind of reach people more than we've ever done when we're performing these days, and I can feel that what we're feeling while we're playing is being felt equally by the audience more and more. So I don't know. I mean, if there's some kind of connection there musically, I think it's important. I mean, visually, I'm really not too sure.
That's my own, I suppose, my own observation, but it was quite interesting. Specifically, there was a young gentleman that we were hanging out with, and on the way home in the car, we were in this traffic jam, and this girl looked over at this guy that I was with and said, my cousin is single, and she's looking for a guy with a haircut just like yours. And his haircut is just like yours.
Right.
So I know they were coming back from Catherine Wheel. So now on this promotional tour, where are you headed, or how much longer?
Well, we've been out here for about 3 weeks so far. And we're going to Detroit tomorrow, and we're actually playing with Patti Smith tomorrow in Detroit, which is going to be fun.
Excellent. She was just actually recently in Toronto for the North by Northeast Festival.
Oh, right.
And she was interviewed and whatnot. It was quite interesting.
Cool. So yeah, we're going to be playing with that. And then we go back to England, I think, at the beginning of next week to do a few dates in England and Europe. We're playing with Jeff Buckley in Germany and Amsterdam in a couple of weeks. Then we come back to America in mid-July, and we'll be, I think, Canada in August. So it's like all over the place. I mean, we're going to spend the next 6 months kind of jumping over the Atlantic, I think. So we're kind of trying to mentally prepare ourselves for it.
For the trek.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rob, I want to say thank you very much for talking with me right now.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay.